Hi everyone, happy Tuesday. So I am going to be coloring and cosplay cats by Jen Racine, and I'm going to be coloring this superhero picture while I go through the Tag Tuesday questions. The tag is this or that round 2. Now I don't think anybody's tagged me yet, but if you have, thank you. But I'm just going to go ahead and do it because I like doing tags for Tag Tuesday because it just goes together so well. Anyway, before we get started on that, I am coming through the cat himself, this handsome devil, is mostly going to be markers with a little bit of gel pen. I'm basically just doing a hey, and everybody say hello to Sid. I remember now, she just popped in. I try at one point, you'll see me put the marker down because I'm trying to pet her while I'm coloring, and because you can't just stop right here because you'll have a line. So she gets mad and leaves after a while. So anyway, I mostly use two colors for my markers, basically just a darker color to outline and then a lighter color to kind of blend with it. I'll put down a layer like this and then I go back over with the darker color with a line on the edges. And it's a little hard to see on camera, but I really like the effect it gives. So there she is, trying desperately to be in my way. And I'm sure now she's off getting into her daddy's lap because she loves her daddy. And he's grumbling because he's trying to work too. So anyway, so this will be a little interspersed between answering the questions and then telling you guys what I'm doing because I am using some mixed media on this one. I had some different things I wanted to try. There was good and there was bad, but isn't that the way anytime you try something new? So anyway, so while we're coloring him, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So this tag was started by Michaela Renee. I'll put her link in the description, and I'm gonna go ahead and say who I'm tagging for this. I am tagging Coloring My Way here on YouTube, Coloring with Haley, and Samantha Oswald. I don't think any of you have been tagged. There were going to be a few others, but I think they've already been tagged. It's hard to keep up with, So if you guys want to do it, great. If not, you don't have to. And like me, if you haven't been tagged yet on these videos and you like them, then go ahead and do them. I mean, oh well, right? I mean, I just think they're fun, so. And I needed one for today, so. Alright, we're going to get started with the questions. The first one is. This video is going to be interesting, by the way, because I am doing a voiceover, so I kind of have a time limit. And so I guess if I answer all the questions before the end, we'll just kind of turn it into a coloring chat. I don't know. We'll see. But I am going to answer all the questions in this time frame. So we know how I like to talk. And that in itself is a challenge. So, question 1. Coloring in bed or coloring at a desk? Oh, it has to be a desk. Really, preferably, my favorite way to color is just on the couch, just chilling. Like, that's my ultimate, like, relaxed color. But I have a really hard time coloring in bed just because a lot of times if I'm not using just a set of markers, I'm not going to drag all that in the bed with me. The way my back bothers me and my hips and my knees and stuff, sometimes it's awkward to sit up in bed and color. So yes, much prefer sitting at my desk and coloring, especially my desk is my creative space. My couch is my relaxation place. I think I did color something in bed this past month, and it wasn't too bad. If it's just like, a few little markers and like a color by number or something, it's kind of nice. So 2, Crayola super tips or staedler markers? I only have the Crayola Super Tips, so I'm gonna say Crayola Super Tips. I do not color much with water-based markers, as I've learned. One of the things I would give anyone who's just starting coloring, if I could give you a piece of advice, it would be just buy a small amount of something if you're going to try something to see if you like it. Don't be like me and buy a whole bunch of water-based markers, a whole bunch of gel pens or whatever, and then and then you start coloring with them, and then you're like, oh wait, I don't like coloring with these, and then you're stuck with all the stuff. So I do have like tan mint and a bunch of other types of water-based markers, but the super tips, actually the Rose Art super tips, I would also recommend along with the Crayola super tips if you like coloring with those. Those are definitely my choice for this one. Erie's Romantic Country series or Tracing series. I haven't colored in either. I do have the Romantic Country books. I don't have the Tracing series one, but it is on my wish list. I think just looking at them, the Romantic Country series would be the winner here, just because I don't know how I feel yet about outlining, just outlining stuff when coloring. That I've seen people do that with like challenges and stuff, like Danny Buttons, and it looks neat, and it's something I should try. It might be a fun goal to set for another month, just to try to see if I like it. But my answer here is definitely the Romantic Country series. So let me grab a drink of my coffee. Oh my gosh, y'all, 6 a.m. this morning. My phone starts blaring about a tornado warning. And I'm like half asleep, of course, rolling out of bed, looking outside, and it's birds are singing, and it's getting, lighter in daylight, and I'm like, what in the world is going on here? So no worries. It was actually, I'll talk about that. Okay, so if I have time at the end, I will talk about that at the end. But no, everything's fine. And at that point, since I had an early morning meeting, I decided to go ahead and stay up and do this. So between logging in the work, and figured since I was up anyway. Number 4, Sachin Sachdeva color by number or color Questopia color by number. I love them both, and I will go with color Questopia here, mostly just because I have more of their books. I have the variety of their types of books I like better at this moment, but Color Questopia has been around longer, I believe, or at least in terms of how many books they have compared to Sachin Sachdeva. So that's probably why. You asked me the question in a year and it might change, but I really do like, especially their most recent stuff. Color Questopia kind of went through, I will say Sachin Sachdeva's color palette has been absolute fire from the get-go in his color by number books. I like his color by number palettes, and they do well with the different pages. There's variety. They're just, and not too many, like the just right philosophy. Not too many colors, not too few colors, just right. Color Questopia kind of went through a midlife crisis period where they were trying to find themselves when it comes to color by number. And their first palette was okay, but a little scattered and some odd colors. Then they went to a 50 color palette, which, while it makes some amazing looking pictures, was really a lot more colors than most people have. And then now they also have adopted the just right philosophy. So I appreciate them listening to their customers and their fans, and we went right through it with them, and we appreciate it. So I will say that in favor of Sachin Sachdeva, he nailed a color palette right off the bat. So But yeah, that question for me would be Color Questopia, just because the sheer amount of subject matter and the way they do their mosaic books, their color by number books, I just absolutely adore. Number 5, Hannah Lynn's simple version of the page or more detailed version of the page. Yeah, me 6 months ago would have said simple, but me recently, I've actually been kind of embracing the more detailed versions of the pages that she does. I do love that she offers both a simple and a detailed version in her books instead of just two exact copies of the same picture. I do really appreciate that she does that, because in some of the books now, I just, if you just want to do a straight marker color or colored pencil color, like the simple picture's the way to go. But with her Whimsy Girls Holidays book that I've been doing the year-long color along with, I've been doing the more detailed pictures just because I've been trying some different stuff with them, trying some mixed mediums, not just always straight marker color. And so the more detailed versions of the pictures kind of, they're a little more inspiring in regards to ideas for that. So I would say her more detailed versions right now. So again, all these answers are subject to change in 6 months or 2 days. I mean, number 6, coloring animals or coloring people? Oh gosh, coloring animals is definitely it. I don't know what it is about coloring people, but I don't mind it, and I've actually really enjoyed playing around with skin tones again in the oh my gosh, Hannah Lynn Holidays book. I've really tried to be diverse with skin tones and hair colors and things like that. It's been fun to do that in that book. But I don't know. I just don't get super inspired coloring people unless unless it's fantasy. Now, if it's fantasy, it's a little different because I feel like then I can do different skin tones, like, a green skin tone or a blue skin tone, and really go wild with their hair. And I mean, I could do that with regular people, I guess, but I don't feel as inspired to do it. So I guess this is kind of I would say coloring animals, unless you're talking about coloring fantasy people. Then I would say that's a tough one for me. I would still probably go with coloring animals though. Number 7, plan your colors in advance or wing it. Again, it is interesting how this one has changed. I was more of a wing it 6 months ago, and I don't know, like, and I keep going back to this because I think it's important to note that, as time goes along, sometimes your tastes change depending on your mood, depending on what's going on in your life. Sometimes the things you like, you get on certain themes for a while, and then it's like, okay, now I want to do something else. And for a while, just because my life's been so crazy, I tend to go with more simple stuff and just kind of winging my colors, right? But here lately, I've been more of the planning color group. I planned, so for example, for this one, this wasn't, other than trying the mixed mediums, this wasn't a super complicated picture, but I think a lot of it comes into play where I want to do different stuff. Like I see a picture and I don't want to do what you would consider, the typical color palette or what have you for a picture. And in doing that, I have to go search for color palettes to get inspired for because I know I want to do something different, but sometimes I'm not sure what that is. And in this case, I didn't want to do the classic, red and blue or any of the classic, like, I guess, Marvel or, y'all are gonna beat me with a bat. What is the other one? Marvel, or why can't I think of the other one? The other big one. Anyway, my husband would know. Um, but anyway, the famous superhero characters we all know and love. I didn't want to do a regular color palette, so I was kind of looking around online, and I found it was almost like retro superhero color palettes, and I saw this one that kind of had a 70s vibe to it, which I was digging, though I was kind of dubious about the bright blue and green, because that didn't seem very 70s, but I didn't live in the 70s, so I guess I don't know. Anyway, I liked the color palette, so I went with it. But of course, I had to go through everything and kind of plan and prep for that. So that with my Hannah Lynn pictures I've been doing and stuff, I've just been planning my color palettes a lot more lately, and taking the time to go ahead and pull things together before I start. Mostly just like I said, I'm trying to do some different things, think outside the box a little bit. The baby shower picture I did last month, I don't think I had a specific color palette for that one. I did just kind of wing that one off the top of my head, but so it's still a mix, but I tend to go more towards planning my color palettes right now. So, and I guess if you have a color by number, and I love color by number books, you're kind of planning your colors in advance. So yeah, that's definitely the majority of my coloring right now. 8, straight coloring or blended coloring? Oh boy. Again, lately, it's been more blended. Y'all seen in like the Flowers and Gardens color by number by color Questopia that I did recently. I really like just, and it doesn't have to be, I typically go for the 3 color blend, either with pencil or marker or what have you. Here lately, I've just been kind of just doing 2 markers, right? Trying to find a happy medium where I don't wind up having to blend so much that it like, bleeds a lot. But I still get a distinction of colors. So this whole 2 colors with like the darker color outlines worked really well for me. And I've been using it even in the Flowers and Gardens color by number book, and it just turns out real pretty. It's not real in, it's not real intense blending like I've done many times, especially with marker. But I think last month was just using 2 pencils to blend with like my watercolor pencils and stuff. So I like blending, but I'm starting to find ways that it works better for me, and it's not taking up as much time, if that makes any sense. So I've been trying to find a happy medium. But I do a ton of straight coloring, like in color by numbers and stuff. So anyway, sorry the video cut off a little bit here, just a little side commentary here. I think I forgot to hit the record button when I first started. So I decided to do the belt, and with just, the belt and the little edging on his fancy little tights there, with gel pens. I used the green and blue from the Pentel Milky Pop set. They gave me that really bright blue and green pop I was looking for. And then I used a just a random copper kind of color. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is a color it gel pen. Excuse me. It is the glitter copper gel pen. I love that color. And it's so hard to find it. Oh no, I didn't use that one. I used something similar. My bad. Ha ha. Ignore me. I used an unmarked pen that was a very similar looking color. That's why I didn't put it. And then I used gold. What did I use? Oh, I used my DeVickel iridescent orange, yellowish pen. Yellow, yeah. For the cat on the belt. So you'll see that here in a minute. So yeah, this was just a random copper colored glitter gel pen I had. So the copper definitely went more with the 70s look. And you'll see it start to take a little shape once I do the background. My whole goal was to make him really pop with color and then have a little bit. I wanted some texture in the background, but I wanted something more muted in color. So anyway, moving on. Where are we at? 9, color by number or color by color? I'm going to go with color by number here. It is a difficult choice. I do like the color by colors a lot. I feel like the color by colors are a perfect solution for those people that want color by number, but they don't want to see the numbers. I really do. Color by color is the perfect solution for people like that. I grumble a lot when color by number coloring book artists make their numbers very hard to read. They lighten them like way too light, or they make them really small. Now, in cases like, really small areas or complex coloring like George Tufexis, I get it. Like, I understand, right? Those numbers have to be smaller, right? But they don't necessarily have to be such a light gray that you have to use a giant magnifying glass in order to see it. I feel like if they are colored by number, then a person with regular vision, and my vision sucks, I'm not gonna lie, but it shouldn't look like the text on a medicine bottle, where I need a flashlight to read it, like a little medicine bottle. So that drives me crazy. It just anyway. And I get why, because you're trying to make both sets of people happy. And I feel like at the end of the day, you're probably not making anybody happy. But I understand. I feel like the color by colors, though, are the perfect solution for those people that don't want to see the numbers but still want the color by number experience. I love the color by colors. My problem is I have a real issue being able to determine the difference between like a red and a red orange. I'm not necessarily colorblind, I don't think. I'm sure there's a name for this, but like those two colors in particular, I have such a hard time being able to tell the difference unless they're like right beside each other. But the color by color lines, I noticed at least in the very first book I got. I have to get her others, but the Sachdeva books, when I did the puzzle animals, I was like, I can't tell the difference between these two. So color by colors that makes things a little difficult for me. Now, in some of her later books, that might be a little easier to tell. So I'm just speaking from experience from one book that I had. But I still, at the end of the day, color by number is when the numbers are nice and easy to read, are a lot easier and more relaxing for me than squinting at the colors and trying to make sure I get them. I actually have like a red or a red orange, so. Alright, so I'm coming through here with my black glaze Jelly Roll gel pen. There were some little like stars, they look like asterisks to me on his belt, and the unfortunate thing about like the Milky Pop and neon-y, that's not a word, but type gel pens is that they cover up lines, which if you're trying to cover up a line, that's great, but I wasn't necessarily trying to cover those up. So I decided to just draw in my own, and they're bigger than the ones that were in there. They're messier looking, but you know what? Whatever. It's cool. It's all cool. But I forgot about that when I went to color with them. So what are we doing next here? This might be where we're getting out the super secrets. Oh yeah, this is my stencil. So I wanted to stencil something on his mask, and I should have done it a little further to the left. It's going to bother me because it's slightly off. And I tried to use the orange yellow, but later on I'll get mad and come back with a black glaze gel pen. I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all because I don't like how it looked. I wanted it to stand out more. I wish the stencil had been just a little bit smaller, but this was the one I had to work with. And I'll put the link to that set of stencils in the description. Yalis, I think, is the brand name. I think that's right. So yeah, you'll see me come back with a black glaze gel pen in a minute. All right, next one. Alcohol markers or Sharpie permanent markers? Alcohol markers. Man, I have been very, I feel like I've been very like just absolute about some of these answers. I do have a ton of Sharpie permanent markers that I do like, but my problem with them has always been that they run out super quick. Well, first off, Sharpies don't have color names. Drive me crazy. I would have to label them myself, and I'm lazy. So those usually get grabbed when I'm looking for a specific color, and they get swatched on a random piece of paper. But I don't use them very often. I love the Bic Intensity, or whatever they're called now. They were Bic Marking at one point. Now I think they're Intensity. I don't know. They could have changed their name twice more by now. I wish they'd settle on something. I love those markers. The colors are perfect for a lot of color by number books out there. They do go down very smooth. They're not super juicy, and they don't necessarily bleed everywhere. And I do love using them, but I have shied away from them because they run out so fast. They're small. And that's a big problem with a lot of permanent markers I have, are that for the amount of coloring that I do and for the big spaces that I color in, they just run out so fast. And so I would definitely go with alcohol markers here. If I colored mostly mandalas or color by number with smaller spaces, you know, I might have a different answer. But for the type of coloring that I do, alcohol markers definitely win this category. 11, coloring images realistically or wacky colors. Again, this has recently changed. I was a lot more, I guess, realistic colors at the start of the year even. I was super excited when Fragile World came out by Kerby Rosannes, because I was like, oh my gosh, finally just regular realistic animals that I can color, just normal colors and this and that. And then, sorry, I thought I heard a weird noise. And then it got weird, because all of a sudden I just wanted to do a bunch of different stuff. Like around February or March, I just wanted to use wacky colors and different color palettes and color things in unexpected colors. And that's still sticking around. I don't know why, but I seem to be veering more towards like fantasy and just wacky colors. So, hang on just a sec. Marvel versus DC. It's DC. That's the one I was forgetting. So sorry. Please, please take your pitchforks and torches back home, and just save them for another day when I'm sure I will give you cause to bring them out again. Thank you to my husband for reminding me. I knew it began with a D, but DC just couldn't put it. My brain just couldn't do it. Anyway, I am using a crayon. Y'all, look at this. I'm using a crayon. This is from the Crayola confetti set. I'm using, it's called Campfire Jamboree. These are really interesting in that I'm going to have to swatch them, because the tops of the colors look like I have no idea what they actually are. So this color this is kind of like a mix of colors. So you get that kind of weird brown and then some orange and then like a yellow orange. This definitely was like my big 70s vibe color right here, for sure. So I end up using the crayon and then going over it with a colorless alcohol blender. Finally, a reason to use my the 2 Weisbrandt colorless alcohol blenders I got in my pack of 50. Finally, a reason for them. I did this in a picture last month, but it was a very light color, and I don't feel like it was just a slight test, right? And so I was like, all right, but this is the big test. We're gonna see how it does here. So far, I love the color, y'all. Love the color. It was perfect. Perfect. I absolutely loved it. Um, we'll be using a lot more crayons on backgrounds in the future, by the way, just as a heads up, because so far I've been loving them. All right, back to the questions. Color while listening to a podcast, music, or audiobook. If I'm, again, relaxing coloring, I'm probably Maggie. I'm probably listening to an audiobook. I also watch a lot of times movies or TV shows I've already watched, because obviously if it's new, I have trouble coloring while watching like an Outlander episode, for instance, because well, not necessarily. If there's not a lot happening, then it's fine, but like if I get really absorbed and I'm not paying attention, I miss stuff. So the podcasts and stuff, anything that I really need to at least occasionally look up at, I would say I'm doing YouTube videos and stuff like that. I would say, podcasts and stuff like that. If I'm doing real creative stuff like working on this one, I would say music, probably, anything, or a podcast. Again, if it only requires like about 30% of my focus, then it changes just depending on what type of coloring that I'm doing. But if I'm really focused on what I'm doing, then most likely it's either music or just nothing. Kerby Rosannes, Worlds Within Worlds, or Fragile World? I like them both. I haven't colored in either one. I would say right now, since I'm kind of more into a fantasy, different colors kind of mindset, I would probably go with the Worlds Within Worlds right now. Though I love Fragile World right now, and that will probably be my reality check book. I'll just go to that one when I want to color realistically, once in a blue moon, I guess. So, but yeah, I'll say Worlds Within Worlds for right now. So, I need to color in both of them. So here I'm coming in with the alcohol blender. I don't think it did much. I think it smoothed it out. I had a little bit of issue with some of the color kind of streaking a bit and being pushed around, probably just because this is a multicolor crayon. You can see it right there. So what I did is just come back with a brush tip and kind of dab at it a little bit, just to get those little dots of streak color kind of blended out. So I mean, it definitely did something. I mean, you could see it pushing the color around and stuff. So I think it blended it. And I was pretty heavy with the crayon as well. I noticed on the other one I did this with, I used a lighter touch, and I don't think there was as much pigment for it to push around. So if you do want to use this technique and actually have it do something, you probably want to use a fair amount of pressure with your crayon, which of course is going to burn through them quicker, but cheaper the crayon than probably the marker, right? Well, at least, especially if you can't buy the marker open stock. So, all right, questions. Camellia Angelikova's mandalas or miniature series? See, now we're getting to the hard ones. I'd still go with the miniature series. They're just adorable. I saw the Oceans. I at first glance, when I saw that the new Oceans Miniatures book was her newest book, I was kind of like, meh. But then I saw the pictures and I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, she's just, even subject matter I'm not interested in, or themes, I end up loving them still, just because of the way she draws them, the way she draws her characters, the way she'll put in unexpected characters in certain books and stuff. Oh, well, there's Maggie running Scamper off. I don't know if you heard that growling and hissing in the background, but that's what that was. Anyway, I have to say her miniatures, this would have been a very easy question again about 3 months ago, but when I was doing a lot of mandala coloring with the gel pens in March, I really kind of got into her mandalas. And I know that's a shocking thing for me to say, but because y'all know I like them okay, but they don't wow me. They don't, they don't blow my skirt up or anything. Um, but like I haven't been able to color any since March, and I've been kind of sad about that. I really like her clover mandalas. Just the clover shape is kind of pleasing to me. So, okay, now we're about to get into some really weird stuff here on the picture, by the way. Some unusual, we'll say weird and unusual for me. Okay, so I have a stencil here. And I'll link, this is one of the stencils from the set that my friend Tammy gifted me. I'm also using one of the gelatos from the gelato set she got me. This is Amber, I think is the name of it. So I saw, and I'll have to see if I can find the video. I saw a video where somebody was using just not dry gelatos, but they were, scrubbing gelatos onto a Caran d'Ache palette using stencil brushes and then just kind of stippling in the color. And they were doing it on a background. They weren't using a stencil, but I thought it might translate to a stencil. And originally I was going to use chalk on this, like chalk pastel. But then I was like, this gives me a chance to use the gelatos. One thing I will note, learning experience here, and it's now obvious, of course. Stippling this over wax, a really waxy crayon that's been went over with an alcohol blender, did make it more transparent than I wanted. I had to use a lot more gelato to get any sort of color. So you will see me put down a lot of, well, it's not a lot. I mean, I barely had to rotate the crayon. So I didn't use up like half the gelato on this or anything. But you'll see me do this step a lot here. And I'm really trying to pick up as much color as I can in the stencil brush to go over it. And this is where the learning experience part comes in. I mean, I've used random stencils like I did with the cat on the mask, like little bitty stencils like that, but I've never used like a pattern stencil for a background or anything. So, made a bit of a boo-boo here. You'll see here in a few minutes. I was just checking it. And then I was kind of like, nah, I don't know if I really like this. So, but I'm like, we are committed, so let's just keep going. That's the way it goes, It's the only way you gonna learn. You gonna learn, girl. It's the only way you words, Michelle. All the words. Slow down. Use your words. The only way you're going to be able to learn to use different materials is to have practice with them and to take the good with the bad. So I kept at it, and ultimately I end up liking it. I end up, once I get this section done, I end up kind of going back over the areas to just kind of scrub them out a little bit more so there's not as much pigment just kind of sitting on the edges like I saw when I originally lifted it up, and that worked out a lot better for me, just kind of going back over it again. I didn't want a ton of color because I didn't want the background to take away from him, but I, wanted some color. So anyway, while we're continuing with this, let's continue with the questions. Number 15, buddy color or color on your own? Okay, so I think everybody dreads this question because we all love the people that we buddy color with, and you always feel so, I guess, privileged. Oh, by the way, this is where I boo-booed, by the way. I should have I should have pushed the stencil over so the pattern continued, but instead you're going to see a line here because of course I put that little edge there. It's not as noticeable at the end because of something else I add, but yeah, so you definitely want to make sure you do a continuous pattern if you've got to, you know, move the stencil in the middle of the page like that. So yeah, I messed that up. I also went all the way to the edge when I left the edge clear on the other side, and I tried to fix that later and I didn't like it, and I did something else again. I am I am well versed in making mistakes and figuring out something that at least takes away from the mistake and makes it not as obvious. So a couple lessons there. Be really aware of where your stencil starts and stops and how you do it on one side as opposed to the other. Just heads up there. But no, I mean, you always feel, you know, privilege, and it's always super cool when somebody asks you to do a body color or you ask somebody else to do a body color and they agree. And I love seeing the different, you know, colors that come out and people's creativity. So I mean, I think we all dance around this one because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I certainly don't want anybody to feel like their feelings should be hurt because they shouldn't be, because I'm going to say color on my own. And that's just because I have a huge issue with feeling guilty. And I see a therapist for a reason, y'all. I have a lot of issues with insecurity. I have a lot of issues with feeling guilty about stuff, not feeling worthy or good enough. And if it's something I can worry about and feel guilty over, oh, I'm gonna. I mean, it's just, that's like, I guess if I was a master at something, that's one of the things I'm a master at. And buddy colors, just because they put me on the spot. I now have a picture that I've agreed to color, and it needs to be soon and I'll push the picture up in a minute, hopefully, guys. Sorry about this. I just wasn't paying attention. You know what I'm doing. You've been sitting here watching it, and you see that line I was talking about. So yeah, little tip for y'all there. But I'm on the spot. I have a picture that I've agreed to color. And this goes with anything, y'all. This goes with challenges. This goes with color alongs. This goes with, if I commit to a picture, suddenly I'm under pressure for it. And if I can't get to it because I'm having fibro flare-ups, like I had a bad flare-up this past weekend and I didn't get to some of the buddy colors I needed to get to, I feel insanely guilty about it. I feel, you know, I just feel like a horrible person because I'm so slow at getting to stuff. And I don't like people having to rely on me for something because I just feel like I'm going to let everybody down. And I'm not saying that because I want people to feel sorry for me. I'm not asking for pity. I'm not asking for, you know, I'm not asking for comments to the contrary. I'm not fishing for compliments here. I'm just telling y'all, and trust me, I could get my husband on here. It's feeling guilty about letting my husband down because I'm not doing enough around the house. It's feeling guilty because I'm letting the cats down because I'm not playing with them enough or paying enough attention to them. It's feeling guilty about not coloring like I said I would be. Feeling guilty about not talking to my parents as much. Feeling guilty about not talking to my friends online as much. I mean, constant, y'all. Constant. Every day there's something I'm feeling guilty about pretty much all the time. So because of that extra pressure and just because of my mindset, that's why I prefer to color on my own, just because only person I'm really letting down is myself. And I'm so used to that. I'm just like, whatever. Y'all are like, okay, this will be a discussion Thursday with my therapist. I promise you, right? Who knew that answering questions in a coloring tag would cause introspection in terms of, you know, hey, maybe I should talk to my therapist about this. What am I doing right here? I'm trying to figure out how to fix that border. And I didn't include it. Y'all see me trying to pull that gelato off, and it's not happening, and it's smearing, and it was making me so mad. It wasn't the line, it was the going all the way to the edge that was bothering me. Anyway, we'll get back to that. One of the things I did here is I printed out these two little things. So, like, you know, those old Batman cartoons and stuff where they would have little cards that would come up, like these big kind of star-like shapes that would say "pow" and "bam" and "zap" and those old types of comics like that. I wanted to add those here, but obviously wanted to give them a cat perspective. So these say meow and hiss, and I'm going to cut them out and glue them onto the paper because my handwriting's atrocious, and I just printed them using Canva. I might put that in I use that for my thumbnails and everything, so I really like it. All right. Anyway, now that we've done all that introspection. 16, trying a new artist or buying from an old favorite. I would say buying from an old favorite at this point, just because I'm trying to be more mindful about buying, and I know that an old favorite is likely going to have subject matter or a book that I like. Every now and then I will try a new artist, but for the most part I would say buying from an old favorite. 17, colorful or neutral color palette. Colorful. Y'all ever see me use a neutral palette? Have I done that? Maybe in 3 years. Would be a good challenge for me. But yeah, no, it's got to be bright colors. I admire the neutral color palettes. And here I go starting to cut them out. And then you guys will, well, once I outline them. And then you'll see me cut them out. And we'll see me glue them on here in a minute. Maybe that's a challenge for me. I love all the people on Instagram that do these gorgeous neutral color palettes, like in the Clara Markova books or Hannah Carlson. I just can't. I don't know. When I go to color myself, I just want bright colors. I've always been the type that I've hated white walls in my house. I've hated any sort of neutral color palette. I've got to have some sort of color in my life one way or another, and that happens a lot through coloring. 18, color a page in one sitting or work on it little by little. Project pages like this, multimedia pages, I would say work on it little by little. Just little random color by number pages, I like to do those in one sitting. But again, it just depends on the type of page that I'm doing. But I would say color a page in one sitting because I obviously color those a lot more and a lot faster than I do project pages. Color while watching TV or color while watching YouTube? I would say YouTube, just because there's some podcasts and stuff on there. You see me gluing these on here. See, that kind of covers that one up. So anyway, I love these. These make me so happy, y'all. I was so pleased with how these come out, and they were such small little things, right? Anyway, I'd say YouTube, because a lot of the podcasts I listen to are on there. A lot of the people that's when I get the majority of my YouTube videos, ColorTube, in, is when I'm coloring and listening to you guys. So definitely YouTube. 20, color by pixel mosaics or standard color by number. I have to say the color by number pixels or mosaics, just because I never look at the solutions if they're like a mystery mosaic, so I never know what I'm getting, and I like that. I like the ones that are mystery mosaics. It's fun to color it, see it come to life, and then, or like a spiroglyphic or something, and then actually figure out what it is as you're going along. I don't know. That's super fun to me. I love it. So definitely that. Definitely the color by mosaics, color by number, and the mystery ones in particular. So you can see me going over the edge here with a slightly darker marker. That helped where I had messed up with that gelato. And it added a little more dimension to this. And then you're going to see me get real mad because of the way the edge of the paper looked. And you're going to see me do something else here in a second. But while we're waiting on... No, we're going to go ahead and do that. I cut it from the book. I cut it out. And then I had some self-adhesive Arteza craft paper. It's like a shiny glossy brown. I glue this onto like a piece of cardstock, and then I glued that on it to give it that dark brown border I wanted. I tried to color around it, and it was a disaster. I had messed up. I tried to use Posca to cover up the gelato, and then I tried to color over the Posca with a marker, and you don't want to do that, at least not for what I was trying to do. So, learned my lesson there, and we just cut it out, and I was stubborn. So, this gave me an excuse to use this paper that has been sitting here forever. Bonus question. If you had to use only one supply for the rest of your coloring life, what would it be and why? I would have to say, just markers. Y'all know I blend. I know it's like a frequent answer and probably for good reason. It's the thing I'm most comfortable with. I can straight color with them. I can blend with them. It's just, I can color a quick color by number picture with them, or I can turn around and do a really intricate page with them. And it can be a really fast picture. It can take hours. And I love that versatility. I get impatient when I color a lot. Oh, by the way, here, if you're going to do this, be aware that if you haven't sealed the page, the gelato may, kind of, you can see it get on the paper a little bit. The gelato may move. So be aware of that. And yeah, so I just glued it on there, and then I end up trimming that white space around it. So give me just a sec. All right. So now we're getting to the final finished picture. So yeah, on that bonus question, I would say alcohol markers. Y'all just, you see, it's my go-to. I get impatient with colored pencil, way more so than I do with marker or any other type of coloring supply. So yeah, I would definitely say markers on that bonus question. But ta-da, we are done. And see, I pretty much hit it. I hit my time limit. Well, except for the extra I'm talking now. But I love how this picture came out. It was really what I had in mind. The background is definitely, I wanted a texture 70s type of background to the rest of the color palette. That's where I was really saving my browns and my yellow oranges and stuff was for the background, because I wanted my superhero kitty to pop. And then he's got his little meow and his I don't know, there's probably a name for those things, but I love them. I love them, and they were easy to put together and print out. And then, like you saw, I have a black and white printer. Otherwise I would have printed them in color to save me the time. But I have a black and white laser printer, so printed them out. Super easy to use, barely an inconvenience. Yeah, right. But I love them. I love them. They make me so happy. The only thing that aggravates me about this right now is that line on that stencil. And anybody else looking at the picture is not going to probably notice it until I tell you, or you're going to notice it, but it may take a minute. But that's what I go to every time I look at this. I'm like, why did I do that? But, once I was committed to it, I had to see it through. I like the gelato and the stencil background. Honestly, that would be a fun theme for this book, is to kind of play with backgrounds like this. Wasn't planning to cut out the pictures, but maybe I will. I don't know. I got my border though, and I'm glad I did, because I feel like that was absolutely needed. But he's adorable, isn't he? I feel like his superpower would be opening cans of cat food, thus rendering humanity useless. So then does that, wait, wouldn't that turn him into a supervillain? So maybe not, maybe not. I guess he finally catches the laser beams. Or he puts out his own laser beams. I don't know. What would a superhero cat do? If you know, put it in the comments. I'm trying to sit here and think. Um, yeah, this isn't cosplay. This is what he normally wears. And see, we don't know the real name of the cat. He's just superhero. So maybe he's Meowsers or he's, I don't know, Catman or Catman. I'm not feeling very creative right now, I guess. Anyway, tag the people at the start, Coloring with Haley, Coloring My Way, and Samantha Oswald. Thank you so much, Michaela, for this tag. It's been a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this too. You got a little bit of a project page for once, and then you got to hear something other than me lamenting about my life. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. I will be putting out the Thursday flip through with my fairy tale books from my collection. And then I have an idea for this weekend, but we'll have to see. Something I've been wanting to do for at least a month now. So we'll see if it pans out. Thanks, guys, for watching, and bye for now.